of the sessions. Like out of 15 which we have planned, you should be attending at least 12 sessions. That is for sure, right? So that is first part. Second part is, which is important, we will be having, as per the instruction from AICT, we will be having a short quiz, MCQ based quiz, and naturally quiz will be having questions of nature MCQ, and it will be based on the topics which we will be covering during the FDP. So whatever we discuss, we will be discussing during these remaining 12 sessions, because 3 sessions we are having today. So it will be like so syllabus for this MCQ will be all the topics or the concepts discussed in some way, maybe through PPT or maybe some informal discussions. So the quiz will be designed by considering each and every topics which we will be covering in the sessions, right? So that's one part. So you should be scoring 60%. So suppose I have not finalized the maximum marks for the MCQ, but I am assuming that it will be up around 50 marks, something like that, or maybe 100 marks itself. So so based on that, we will be conducting a quiz, MCQ based quiz, and it will be conducted on a Google form naturally. So we will be sharing the links for the quiz on the last day, probably on the 8th of November, and we will provide you the timelines or the duration to attend that particular quiz. And based on the score of the quiz, we will be submitting these marks to the Atal portal, right? So as per the guidelines, we will be uploading your attendance. So attendance of each and every participant will be recorded into the AICT Atal portal, and your test marks will be uploaded. That's 3 things. That is first 2 things. And eventually after the FDP, you will be submitting the feedbacks, right? Feedbacks related to the FDP sessions and FDP. So after completing or after these 3 things only, your certificate for the participation will be generated, right? I do not have any direct role on this. So I have a role to upload your attendance for the daily session, right? I will be uploading the attendance for each and every session into the Atal portal. So eventually at the end of FDP, we will have attendance of each and every participant in the portal. And after that, we will be uploading the test marks, right? So after uploading these 2 things, it is up to you that whenever, as soon as you provide the feedback, this FDP certificate will be generated, right? So these three input values are the criteria to generate the participation certificate. If there will be some issue, I will be taking care of all those possible issues, right? So it is my request or advice to each and every participant that you have to be available, or you should be attending at least 80% of sessions of the FDP, right? So as far as attendance of these session or these 3 sessions, I am recording each and every session by some kind of automatic tool. So as soon as you join to this app, this Google Meet, your joining time and your leaving time is both are recorded. So if some participant is joining this particular session again and again, each and every instance is being recorded by that particular plugin, right? Web browser plugin. So you should not be worrying about that. We are keeping the records of each and every instance of your attendance in a session, and based on that only I will be uploading the attendance of a session for a particular day into the AICT portal, right? So it is like transparent way. So eventually, as a coordinator also, I do not want to be have more discussions on these kind of things, these particular things. I wanted you to attend the session and utilize the discussions by different experts, right? So I hope with this spirit we will be going to this journey of 3-4 days, right? So because for me this particular area or this particular theme is very close to me, because this is something which I am pursuing from the last 5 to 6 years. I'm very much into this area of field, like information retrieval, data exploration, information interactive IR, like conversational IR. There is a field called interactive IR, IIR, which is interactive information retrieval, something like that. So I was much into these fields. So I I have very specific interest on this area. And if you have started pursuing research, or maybe if you are already into these fields, we will be having thorough discussions on different aspects of the research, academic research, right, by different person for the different session or different days, right? So with this remark, let me share my screen, and I will be trying to basically uncover, or maybe reiterating or repeating some of the fundamental concepts of this information retrieval area, and how we are getting basically how we are getting into these fields as a introductory or maybe naive person, and how basically these things or these new concepts have been emerging from the last few years. So let me share my screen first. So I hope this screen is visible to you. So if you have any question at any point of time, I will be able to read your comments. So you can post a comment on the chat box, and I will be reading during the session your chats or your responses, and I will try to respond to each and every chat or each and every questions, right? And one thing I want to raise or share, that I wanted you to be active during the discussion, because this is not a very high in discussion. Like in the morning we have 2 sessions on 2 different aspects or 2 different point of view. Yes, do you have any question? Okay, so I have got a voice from the participant side, so that's why I have posted. So I hope it is visible now. So this focus of this whole session is to discuss how information retrieval field as a research field or research domain is basically shifting from the way we have perceived IR as a fundamental research problem or research area, and how it is emerging to or going towards a new direction, right? So like in the morning we have 2 sessions. In one session, in the very first session, the one aspect of it is correctly pointed out, that how we can design a IR process, or how we can design a framework for IR process as a multi-criteria problem or multi-decision problem likewise. And the second aspect is that how we will be incorporating the user's interaction, user behavior, user presence into this IR process. Because as an IR process or maybe IR system, information retrieval system or information search system, keeping user into the system or into this IR process is one direction which is coming up from the last maybe you can say of the 8 to 9 years, or maybe 7, precisely 5 to 6 years recently, right? So that's what is the theme of my discussion, that how you can utilize the user search intent, that what is the thought process of user whenever a user is going for a search, whenever a user is planning to search something, how can we utilize this whole context, his search needs, his search context. So context means each and every thing, each and every aspect which is related to the possible or prospective search, and which will be conducted by user, right? So we are trying to capture all these possible signals, all these possible information, all these possible cognitive states into this retrieval process, into the retrieval framework. That's the theme is, right? So to understand these different aspects, how these aspects can be modeled into the information retrieval framework, how these things or aspects can be designed to assist the search, right? These different aspects should be explored or understand in a very naive manner. So that's the intention of my discussion. So I will be taking taking care of all these things to be discussed properly with you. So in this, the very first part, we will be taking a very brief discussion on the different fundamental notions, different fundamental concepts related to information search, information retrieval, and other related things, like what are the different frameworks, available frameworks for the information retrieval, and what are the possible different paradigms which are equivalent, which are similar to the fundamental information retrieval. right? With this, to understand this, we will be going much deeper into the different possible, you can say, the categories as far as the literature concerns. So because in this research world or research community, different people, different researchers are working on the different aspects of IR. So we have clustered these work and presented in a very crisp manner that these are the different possible direction on which different persons, different individuals are working on, and what are the different challenges on these different categories, right? So that's what we have taken out, and along with it, eventually I will be sharing some of my work which I have done during my PhD and along with my MTech students, which are closely demonstrating the use of these highlighted aspects, that how you can model the user intent and how you can utilize this modeled intent to achieve a better or to implement basically a good IR based system, good IR information search system, right? So let me start discussing different these aspects. So correctly, so let's start by simply raising a question like, why do we search, right? So searching for information is naturally based on some kind of human needs, human tendencies, right? So if you are searching for
Sir,
information, yes, please.
can you please put in full screen mode, sir?
Yeah, just yes. So actually, I have kept it in this window because I'm getting notification for joining this meeting. So I have to switch from PPT to that mode. So that's the only reason. So okay, so somehow I wanted to make it full screen first. Yes. So the basic tendency of basic search or any kind of search is naturally coming from the very first tendency, like tendency of enhancing the knowledge, right? So I mean, knowledge from, it can be knowledge from, it can be about anything, right? The very first tendency for conducting a search is naturally driven by a tendency to gain or enhance the knowledge about any field or anything, any topic or any object, right? And the related tendency is to enhance the awareness, or maybe add in the knowledge about something, right, which is related or which is connected to the social awareness, right? And if you go for the high-end learning or learning which is related to one particular one dedicated topic, it could be developing, or it could be because of developing a complex intellectual skills. Like if you want to learn some programming language, if you want to learn some different language, like I'm aware about the Hindi and English language. So if I'm going to learn some French or some different country language, so I have to apply some kind of search mechanism, some kind of learning and seeking process, right? So to develop intellectual skill also, that could be one tendency. And eventually it is naturally, this last point is related to the tendency of survival of the fittest. So that's what is that this tendency for staying on the top of anything. It is by conducting some kinds of information search, right? So eventually this information search serve a purpose of survival also, right? So these are the some of the primary reasons, primary tendencies, primary intentions for which we used to conduct information search on daily basis, right? And out of these behavior, or for these behavior, we are conducting searches by some of the very ad hoc or very ill-phrased or ill-mannered approaches. Like, so suppose we are not aware of any topic or any particular question, we used to conduct any random or ad hoc queries without knowing the exact output, without knowing the exact intention of search. So that's the one way of conducting the search, right? Similarly, so whenever we are having this kind of ad hoc or imprecise queries, your interaction with system or interaction with such system used to extend into the multiple interactions. You will be conducting your search in multiple queries, right? Just because you are not certain about your the query term or the query, and you're not sure about the possible results. That's why we are conducting these interactions with system in a multiple times, right? So, I mean, that's one way we are doing searches on the different systems on daily basis, right? So it is primarily because of we are not having any understanding that how input query is affecting the result also, right? So that is the primary reason. So and basically all the possible existing systems, whether it is conversational IR or maybe any search system or any traditional IR system, these all systems are primarily driven by query result paradigm. So this paradigm says you are applying your query and system in generating your results, right? So there is this gap. So nowadays, or maybe existing IR systems are purely driven by these two dimension or two phase approach for serving the user data or information request. We are lacking in the aspect where we can model the user's interaction with the results. That's what the I mean basic limitation on the IR systems, existing IR systems, right? So if we generalize all these discussion and all those existing limitations, we could see that broadly we have two search behaviors. First search behavior says it is a lookup search. So whatever query you are conducting on the search systems, you can broadly categorize into two ways of searches. The first the search is broadly says whenever you are applying a query, you will have a very precise or very abstract answer, right? So lookup search is basically any kind of search which will have focused way of approaching to the search system or search results. It will have specific goals. It is like you are searching for the phone numbers of the hotels in a city, something like that. So you will be expecting the phone numbers, you will be expecting mobile numbers, you will be expecting email ID, something like. So your query or your search is maybe some kind of focused or maybe kind of specific, and your result will be also specific, right? But there are, I mean, huge set of queries, huge set of questions read by the user to the search system, where this your query as well as your possible answers both are fuzzy, both are imprecise, both are open, right? So if I raise a question to you like, can you tell me the reasons for petrol price rising, something like that, can you tell me the possible reasons of COVID 2019? So your question, I mean, questions are also open-ended as well as the possible answers are also ended. So nowadays we are getting, so whenever we consider that we are considering the semantics of user's question or user's query, you have to deal with these kind of open-ended search. So all those remaining search scenarios, I mean, remaining means if you separate the queries or questions of type lookup search, all those are falling into the second bracket, which is called exploratory search, where we will have open-ended search nature. And that's why, because your questions as well as your response or results both are open-ended, so it means whenever we will be engaging this kind of search with the system, it will require some efforts from the user side, right? It will require some interaction from the user side to get it precise, to get it done. But in case of lookup search, it is a very convenient, and it is very, I mean, less cognitive effort taking process. So we have broadly understood that we have two strategies or two types of search we are conducting on daily basis. There is no third category of search, right? So with this, we assume or we understand that yes, we have two possibilities of search behaviors. Particularly in the second scenario, which is called exploratory search, we have observed some kind of paradigm shift. Because in lookup search, it was like fact finding. So we have very less possibility of paradigm shift or changes. But in case of exploratory search, there we are assuming that user presence or user interaction is having a role or will be playing an important role. So we are assuming that by keeping the user into this retrieval process will significantly improve the search process, information seeking process. So that's what we are saying, that is a paradigm shift. Because in a traditional system or maybe system dedicated for this lookup search based search, we have this query to result. So we will be applying query and we will be getting results. This paradigm is okay, it is suitable for that. But when we talk about exploratory search, we will be going for more than that. So here you can see that we have used this query, result, review, and result. So we have included two more steps, or basically you can say only one significant step, which is called review. So we have added this review stage, review phase into this retrieval process, retrieval system. So now, after applying a query, the results will be generated. That's obvious. After that, after getting the results, maybe relevant results or maybe matching results, user will be doing some kind of review. User will be simply going through the results. So this user interaction with results will be captured into the system, right? Will be captured and will be kept with the system, kept with the IR system, and will be utilized to get the new relevant result set. That is something additional. So we, by this plugging the review process into this fundamental or maybe the basic IR approach, we could say that we have designed a new IR system where user is kept into the loop of the IR process, right? So this is what this paradigm of this paradigm shift is already happened in the recommended system. There we are utilizing the users previous user views, previous user liked and purchased item for recommendation of new items for the user. So these things are already happening in different applications, and this is one possible shift which we have observed in the different systems, different information system, different data exploration systems, right? So this is what also rightly outlined by our both speakers in the morning, that in the conversational system also we are including the users interaction. We will be suggesting different alternatives of different alternatives of a question raised by the user. Similarly, in the case of multi criteria or heuristic based IR system, there also we are having multiple options, multiple answers for a user question. So the selection and best selection of best answer is that always it is always an open problem. But yes, so we have reached to this point there we could have at least best options, best results for a user question. And naturally, to generate these questions or alternatives, we are considering user behavior, right? So with this, let me share, right? So one of the extended yeah, so we have got some notification from the user. So let me understand. Yeah. So one of the participants raised a question that how result review reduce the user effort. So review result, I mean, if you are saying about after submitting a user query, if you are going through the results, I mean, if you are looking at the results and you found that user is spending a lot of time into this review process or maybe scrolling process or the browsing process, for that you should be designing some kind of matrices, some kind of criteria to score or to generate a rank for each and every results, so that you can have most result or most appropriate set of information on the first page. That's what I think is pointed out by Professor TV Vijay sir also, that you need to plug the most relevant, the most appropriate results in the first page, right? So criteria you can decide, because each and every information system or each and every information retrieval system is based on or designed for particular domain. So you can plan a particular criteria, or you can plan a particular measures to place a particular result on the first page. So with this we can reduce the time, reduce the efforts of user also, right? So with this I am going back to the slides. Okay, so now if you see, we have actually categorized, so as far as information search process, information retrieval process, there are two main criteria. So with respect to user's position, like, so suppose you are a user so you're looking for, or you're going for a search operation, information search operation to a information search system or to a search engine. So I am considering the user's position, and I have decided two main criteria. First criteria is that how much user is familiar with his search needs, right? So how search needs, familiarity with the search need means you are aware about the possible keywords you will be submitting, you are aware about all other possible keywords to that search domain or to search topic. That's one part. Second, how much you are aware about the possible correlation between different terms or different topics related to your search target, right? So there are two main criterias based on which you have different search behaviors designed, right? So I have placed a simple quadrant between these: knowledge on search context and knowledge of meta information. So meta information says, if you're conducting a search and if you have still, or if you have some kind of awareness about the possible results and correlation between your query with the possible or prospective results, then I can say you are somehow familiar with the meta knowledge, right? So it is knowledge about the possible results and possible results or derived results, right, at certain stage. So basically, this matrix or this quadrant makes a kind of establish some kind of explanation about the different combinations. And let me show you the proper placement of different such behaviors. So though information seeking is a one single term which summarize some kind of information retrieval and users approach to understand the result, right? So because IR, whenever we refer this term IR, it always pointing towards a mechanical process. Mechanical process means it will be a process which will simply extract or retrieve the relevant document based on some matching criteria or based on some kind of mechanism or similarity mechanism. But information seeking is always beyond that. When we say information seeking, it always encompass, or it always consists of a process or approach of user through which he is learning about the results. He is gaining some knowledge, he is attaining some knowledge about that domain, right? So that's what is about information science. So we used to have this term called information science. So information science, in the domain of information science, they used to use this term information seeking instead of using the term information retrieval, right? So whenever I use this term information seeking, it means information retrieval and something else. Information retrieval and there will be a process on the behalf of user through which user is gaining or learning some knowledge, right? So basically, if you summarize or place all these possible information seeking behaviors into these four quadrants, if you can see, if each and every different information seeking behavior is kept into the different block, and it is just because it is having, so each behavior is having balance between the knowledge about search context and knowledge about metadata. So if you see, so where is lookup search plotted? So if you see fact finding, which is having both fact knowns. So like in the previous slides, we have said in the case of lookup search, which is equivalent to fact finding, we are most of the time aware about the possible results also, and we have certain about our queries also. So both sides are basically certain. So both aspects are known. User search context is known, as well as the relation of user query search context with possible result is also known. So that's why this fact finding and simple search, lookup search, is placed in the known knowns in the bottom quadrant. Similarly, if you go to the right side of this the second quadrant, or where we have placed knowns and unknowns, search context is known, but meta knowledge about the prospective result is lesser clear or less clear, less certain to the user. We have placed here different behaviors like refinding, investigation, analytical search, evaluation. So these behaviors are having uncertainty on the prospective result. They are having clarity on the context side, that the user will be very certain about the search. The user will be very certain about the possible question, but he is having very less clarity. He's having uncertainty about the possible upcoming results. He will not able to comprehend the results. That might be one state. Similarly, if you go on the top of the this top row, there we have placed unknown unknowns. So here, this exploratory search behavior, which is one of the prominent search behavior, it is kept in this block because in the both end it is uncertain. So user is not having any certainty on the search context. That is one part. Second part, user is not having any idea about the possible results, possible understanding about the relation between the question and the answer, the query and the result. So he will be engaging with the system multiple times. He will be applying his interest on the results. He will be interacting with the different results and its different aspects. And these different aspects will be used or utilized to retrieve the next possible set of results. So all those kind of behaviors which are having open-ended search at both end are kept into this block or planned at this block. Like you can see the navigational search, discoveries of browsing behavior, explanatory search is also pointed out here. So there all the possible behavior where the both sides are open are kept into this block. So with this, you can have clear idea about the basic search natures and their categorization based on these two parameters actually. So if you have this clarification, this categorization, you can easily plan to design a system. So suppose you want to design an informational search, right? Like Google Scholar is providing. So you can have this, you can have design, you can have a basic design for your system by analyzing a existing lookup search system, something like that. So like suppose you want to design a explanatory search system, so like a conversational system, conversational IR based on some kind of explanatory search. So there they can plan by defining a analogy between any browsing system or any discovery or navigation systems, right? So this particular diagram will provide you the analogy between the different behaviors based on these two parameters, right? So with this, I'm going to again plot a new impression of the same understanding that, so based on the user state, so because these two parameters like awareness about the meta knowledge and knowledge about the search context, along with this, there is the third dimension which is called the balance between exploitation and exploration. That's what is discussed by Professor TV sir also, that whenever you are designing a information search system or information seeking system, you should be taking care of these three possible directions, right? How much is the user search about, how much is the user aware about the search context? That is one prominent direction or prominent criteria. Second criteria is that how much user is having this awareness on the meta knowledge, and third possible direction, that how much your system is able to balance, how much your system is capable of balancing exploitation and exploration, right? So whenever we will be designing a successful information retrieval system, you should be taking care of these three primary states or dimensions, something you can say. You should be having balance between these three dimensions. Then only you can retain your users. Then you can have some relevant results. So all those possibilities, all those limitations can be handled, right? So when I say the balance between exploitation and exploration, you should be taking care of the user's limitation. That's one way, and you should be balancing your the criterias for publishing the sufficient or relevant information to the user. So these three are the most important dimensions for any successful IR systems, right? So with this, I'm going to share some of the notions related to any search system which is handling the open-ended search, any search system which is of nature exploratory search, right? So I'm not going to discuss this the definition of the exploratory search. So it is primarily correctly pointed out by any such behavior or any search which is open-ended, and it will have any unclear and imprecise information goals, and it will have fuzzy results. So these three natures, these three characteristics will be clearly identifying or clearly establishing that a particular search behavior is an exploratory search, right? So now, naturally, whenever we have these three natures into a search, adding a user's presence, adding a user's information, adding a user's behavior information into search will help you to achieve the desired result as soon as possible. Now, so by keeping these definitions, uh, there are two fundamental frameworks has been proposed. So this is something related to the existing literature of related to information retrievals. I am sure you are somehow related or aware or familiar with these two frameworks. So whenever we think about any information search or information retrieval system or process, we should be always based on these either of these frameworks. So the first framework for information search is coming from the behavior of berry picking. So berry picking behaviors is one prominent, the direction which we have established in the literature in the earlier days of the research in this area. The second, the second potential or the prominent framework is based on the foraging behavior of different swarms or different living beings. So that's what is the bottom, that's what the baseline. So these two behaviors outline the possible extension of these behaviors into the some advanced systems also. Like in the berry picking, if you closely observe that berry picking is more or less focused on the searching of information into a source. So it is basically emphasizing on the focused search part. So though berry picking is a complete search behavior, so but the objective of berry picking based information system is to explore a particular source, particular information source. It is like, suppose you have 10 books for a course. So for any examination, suppose you are exploring to the 10, suppose you are having 10 books to understand that course, and if you are focusing on certain book, only certain book out of these 10, and 9 you are not exploring, 9 remaining 9 books are less explored, less read by you, it means you are having this approach of berry picking. You are searching maximum information, or you are thinking that the most of the informations relevant to me are available in this first source. That is some kind of berry picking behaviors, right? That is one prominent behaviors. But the philosophy of berry picking is to explore or emphasize on the focused search into some particular source. Second approach is foraging. So foraging means it is somehow emphasizing on the exploratory nature. It is somehow emphasizing on the browsing nature. So it is like, again, for the same problem. Suppose you are having this examination of a course and you are having 10 books. So the few students are having this approach, like let's have an exploratory view on these 10 different books to understand the concept. So if you are designing an exploratory information system or any information system based on the foraging approach, it will be supporting all those exploratory browsing behaviors, right? It will be emphasizing on the browsing based behaviors. So foraging is something which is adapted by the different researchers for different kind of problems. Most of the recommended build systems are based on foraging behaviors, right? That is the strength, something. So in foraging behavior based systems, you can adapt the multi-criteria, multi-objectives natures, right? Because they are having the browsing nature. So you can generate some kind of scoring, some kind of ranks to the each and every information source, and based on that, you can adapt a particular source, right? So that is something about the fundamental framework for IR. So each and every philosophy for the information retrieval systems are purely based on either of these frameworks, right? And each and every framework is having its philosophy, and it is having its own advantages, right? So now, if you again outline the different research works done by the different researchers, so let me take a break of 1 minute, and mean the time you can see through these particular different points. So actually in this slide, what we have done, we have I have done particularly arrange or clustered the different directions, different area, different topics on which different researchers are working upon, right? So like there are three broad categorization based on the systems layer. Like for any information system, we could have three possible labels. First level is user interaction level, where user is interacting, any naive user or any simple user interacting. That is first level. There is this middle level, right? There is this database level. So as far as information system concerned, we could have three possible levels, and on these three levels there are different researchers, there are different experts, developers, companies who are working to improve the information system, to improve the data exploration system. So these three different layers has been planned or been handled by different researchers in different ways. So you can have read about this thing, and let me take 1 minute break, and then we will continue a discussion. So if you have any question, you can directly raise here in the chat box. Yes. So basically, let me continue. So basically, out of these three labels, we have understood, or we have come up with these different labels. Let me, yeah, these three labels like data visualization. So under these user interactions, one of the important direction which has been explored in the recent years is data visualization. So data visualization is one possible thread, or one possible sub area, where if you are working on an information system, information retrieval or information search system, data visualization is one possible subtopics or possible direction through which you can achieve a good information search systems, right? That's one possible thread under the user interaction. Second possible thread, which basically is being explored by the different researchers, is exploration interface. So if you are having, or if you are working to design an information system by providing an interactive GUI, right? So that is basically one possible direction which people are working on. So now you can see in the different websites, they are having this kind of now user can control, user can interact with the data. So if your system is providing some kind of tagging, labeling, or marking, bookmarking, or some kind of mechanisms, each and every user behavior is considered as a user interaction. So these user interactions are kept by the user, kept by the systems, actually, systems, and these interfaces are called exploration interface, right? Because you can play with the data, you can play with the query. Like in Google search system, if Google is giving you the possible list of other queries, so if you have typed a keyword and system has suggested you the possible other alternative queries, and you have selected a query, that is kind of, so this is one type of exploration interface. On the same basic interface, Google is giving you the possible list of alternative queries, and it has provided you the option to click on it. You can select a particular query. So this is one interactive behavior, right? So this last block called novel query interface is something which we have just discussed, that it is providing some kind of interaction with the suggested outcomes, suggested alternatives, right? So these are the different possible directions. There are various efforts has been done by the different researchers, and that's why it is named as a novel query interface. It is named as a visualization tool. So for each cell, which is shown in the slide, for each cell, there are significant amount of work has been done in the recent years. And one of the fact I want to share with you, that there are different workshops, there are different the conferences are basically conducted by one of the ACM group called SIGIR. So under that, a simple special interest group for IR, they are having different workshops for these dedicated areas. So there are this conference related to visualization, information visualization. So they have started conducting different workshops. So you can understand the importance of these areas. So because different researchers are having dedicated works upon these different areas. So it means it is getting now it is now getting intentions, it is now getting interest of different researchers, prominent researchers, right? So this is one possible or prominent direction on the top of the information search or information retrieval system. Second is something happening in between, something happening in the middleware also. So in middleware, there are various systems which are often referred as a BI-based systems, or different system which is working on a pre-processing, pre-fetching of information, right? So those systems are called as interactive performance optimization. So in this layer, you can have any mechanisms which can which can pre-process the query, which can pre-process the data, we can pre-fetch the data. So any kind of performance enhancement optimization you can place here. So like one of the questions raised by a participant, that how can we reduce the user's effort? So by prefetching the information or by estimating the suitable results for a user, you can plan some criteria and you can plug that algorithm in this middleware, right? So this middleware layer is basically is a privilege of having this pre-computation. This basically this no, you can preparation of the data. So whatever data your system is retrieving, extracting, you can pre-plan it, you can rearrange it. So at this level only you can have some algorithm, some subsystem to your information system which can rearrange the data, right? So you can have a information retrieval system which will retrieve the data from your database or from your corpus. But at this middleware level, you can have a subsystem which will rearrange the retrieve result based on the user preference. That's what we can do at the middleware. And a lot of systems which are providing personalized search, they are having these modules or subsystem at this level, right? So based on the user profile or based on the user profile information, based on the user's search history, they can rearrange the data, they can rearrange the result for the query, right? So that those all components can be placed here in the middleware. Similarly, at the bottom level, there are two main levels. First level is how you can effectively index the data. So because indexing is one of the key area in case of information retrieval or information search. So for that you can have your own approach. So there are various efforts has been done because this evidence of big data has raised the challenge that how effectively you can store the data, how effectively you can index the data, right? So that's why indexing is important, and that's why it is important to deal with the different indexing approach to the different type of data, right? So indexing is something on which different people has worked, and after that storing is storing the data, because in most of the IR systems it is important to store the data, right? Storing an index value, that is one part. Storing the actual data is also one part. So it is important to adapt an efficient approach, adapt a flexible approach in our IR system, right? So these are the all prominent or potential direction on which different researchers across world are working. And this particular slide has been come up after a lot of efforts. We have explored various works spanning around 2008 to 2019. So around 8 to 9 years research has been explored in this direction of information search and retrieval. So we have explored all the possible direction, then we have come up with these tabs. So these tabs are basically indicating the possible area, possible you can say the topics you can take out of like that, and different research. So you can, if you take this term adaptive loading and type into the Google Scholar, it will give you around 500 or 600 different different result articles, and people are working on that, right? So after this, so this is about the pre-existing work. So how different people are working on these directions which are related to information retrieval. Now we are going to altogether new concept which is called three search context theory, right? So this is how we have seen uh, a search process, right? A search process is conducted through different user cognitive actions, and these user cognitive actions are converted or maybe applied to the search system by different tasks, right? And we are considering these three phases. You can see here, you can see user action as remember, think, imagine, and user's state of knowledge. So user is having one state during the user action of remember, and when user is thinking about something, thinking about his search task, he is having different knowledge state, and during the imagination state, which is the last possible state, he is having different state of mind. So during a search process, or maybe before starting a search process, user is having these three stages, right? One stage is what? Before starting the search, which we are saying pre-search. So that's what is the theory about. So you can see here you can see in the right side diagram, this pre-search context is clearly pointed out. So in this state or in this context, user is having some idea about, or user is applying remembering cognitive process, and for this user is recalling or using the prior knowledge about the search topic. So suppose you are going to search for a particular topic or particular aspect or particular concept. At this pre-search context stage, you are using your memories about that topic, about any topic related to the current topic you're at hand. And in this stage, you are applying cognitive actions called remember, right? Similarly, if you go to this in search, so after pre-search, so at the pre-search, you will be applying remember, and after this remembering the fact, you can recall the fact and you can apply or submit a query term to the system. And that is the end of this pre-search context. That is the boundary of pre-search context. So pre-search context is each and every detail about or before you have submitted the query. So once you submit the query, this scope of pre-search is gone. Now we can say that now we are starting a new search context. Now we are entering into a new search context, which is called in search, because now user is inside a search process. Now user is a search state where system is available with the user, right? So during the in search, user is having some results for his query in front of him, right? And now he can apply some kind of thinking process. In this thinking process, either he is looking at the result and trying to derive some kind of correlation with the result, right? So he has knowledge about the query. That's what is part of remembering and in search. Now, based on looking at the result, he can derive correlation between the possible retrieved results. So he is applying now thinking cognitive process, right? And sometimes he is applying some kind of thinking process with the previous experiences also, right? So at this in search context, basically the cognitive process is thinking, and the knowledge state which he is applying is the previous or present experience about the search, right? And this in search context stage, he is evolving. So after each search, he is gaining a lot of things in this in search context. That's the second stage. What about after this? So once you apply your query into the Google search engine, Google search system retrieves some detail about the search, it will give to you. Now after this, it is basically it is up to you now. Now system has generated some results. After looking at the results, you have gained your knowledge, you have improved your knowledge about the topic. Now what after this? So system should generate some results for you now, right? That's what I'm saying. After looking at the result, you are now have improved knowledge. Now you can imagine something about the prospective result. Now you have some kind of gained knowledge based on which you can imagine that, okay, what is the next possible result I could have, right? So for this possible next context, which is called pro search, prospective search context, you are using this third cognitive state, which is called imagination. Vivid imagination about future possible results, future possible your research intent, right? So this is the third possible context in a search. So after conducting the in search, after attaining the knowledge in the in search state, it is now the responsibility of system, because user can only think about the possible results, right? Either he can directly apply the new query, or system should take care about the possible intents. Is it the system, is it the possible to system to generate all these prospective results? If your system is able to generate these futuristic results, these possible relevant results as a part of pro searching text, then only we can say your system is able to handle exploratory search behavior, your system is successful conversational system, your system is successful browsing based system. And that is the one possible direction where most of the companies, IT companies, are working to produce the most relevant, most accurate results for your futuristic or prospective search context, right? So most of the system or most of the people who are working on this IR area are working to improve this correlation between in search and pro search context, right? So to justify this, we have three possible context scenarios or context or case studies actually. So I'm not going to discuss these three use cases. Let me briefly say about these three use cases. So pre-search is important. So for that, we have explained one typical scenario of the classroom. Suppose I'm a course instructor and I used to give assignments to my students, right? So in a class of 60 or in a class of 120 students, few students are good in basically some way. So suppose there is assignment about database, and they have to ask they have been asked a question that you have to find out the reason why primary key is important, something like that. So few students who are having familiarity about this concept, key and primary key, important keys constraints, so they might be having their responses in a as soon as possible manner. But other students of the same class might not having this better memory or better recalling approach, or maybe curation approach, curation strategy. They will have their assignment maybe in the later half of the class. I mean, after some time, after deadline, they can submit it. So because of this capability of recalling, capability of remembering, right? So that's why it is important. So remembrance of a fact or memory or maybe anything which can recall the existing information with you is having some importance. That's why pre-search context modeling is important, right? So similarly for use case 2 emphasizing are basically the importance of in search. So in search means whenever you are into the search process, you are now looking at the search results. So what are the best behaviors we can capture during the search? So after getting the results, what are the possible user behaviors can be captured? So you can ask your user to label the results. You can ask user to mark the results. So by modeling these user behaviors on the result, you can possibly retrieve the possible results, futuristic results also. So this use case 2 is emphasizing the importance of in search, right? By utilizing the use case of a research scholar, right? Like one of the main problem we are facing in our classes, along with our MTech and BTech students during the major projects, they are having this difficulty about the best possible research topic for their project. So this is the same case which is discussing that you can collect the browsing history of a student in ideal case and generate the possible research topic. So suppose if you ask a student to, okay, you can go and explore all the possible research topics, research papers, or research results by Google Scholar, or maybe by Google, or maybe anything on internet. And now can you curate your search history? So based on that, you can generate some of the interesting topics, something like that, right? So this way we can establish this importance of in search and its correlation with free search. Now this last use case is emphasizing the importance of how it is critical and it is important to derive the prospective, so pro search context. So how deriving the pro search context may be useful in some case, like in typical scenario, evidence-based medicine, like we are now going through this modern medicine facilities there, based on some reports of yours, doctor is having this kind of summary. So in that evidence-based prescription, they are having ranges for each and every symptom and ranges for each and every drugs which is suggested, right? So based on that, doctor is suggesting something for you, and after that he will be observing your behaviors, right? So this evidence-based medicine is something which is the prominent example for justifying that predicting the pro search behavior or pro search context is important role, right? So now you can see, or I can summarize the some of the important direction on which we can work. Yes, sorry. So now you can see the prominent challenges in the design of any such system are basically categorized into two broad categories, two broad areas, or maybe two broad aspects. One aspect is related to the user's limitations or user's inability. Second category or second part will be related to systems limitations. System means traditional search system limitations. So if you go to the user size limitation, you can design a lot of systems to take care of the limitation at both end, right? So as far as users inability concerned, yes, we are having very few systems to take care of the limitation at user side. So we are having very few systems to take care of the user's uncertainty, right? So we are having very limited system which can predict the user's uncertainty, which can support a user to overcome this uncertainty on the identification of real information needs, right? So we are going to the search system to search for any random questions or search for any random query or for any random query terms. Similarly, for a particular question, for a particular topic of a particular assignment, we are hardly have a exact search point. It is very difficult to start a search. I mean, if some domain is unfamiliar to you, it is very difficult to start search. So we do not have a very precise search systems which could help you to achieve this point, which could suggest to you a exact term, keyword through which you can start the search precisely. Similarly, how to formulate or how to reformulate data query, that is also something related to the second point. And we are having very few, I mean, we do not have any specific system which can overcome this limitation, user limitation. And during the in search, I mean, suppose you have come up with some data results after applying some query, system is generated some results. It is very difficult to understand, or it is very difficult to identify that which data is the important source, which data is important source. So very limited. So this is some prominent question. Similarly, basically how to use the results of initial query. So basically it is again related to that. So if you have a query posted and after that query we got around 10 or 20 answers, 20 responses, how basically these different results can be used for the initial query, right? Something like that. And now after reading to these 10 or 15 results, now should I go for the next page or not? Should I go for the previous result or not? That is also basically changing a source problem. So basically it is again important to have some kind of indicators that now you have to change, you have to go for other source, you have to go for the different page, something like that. So these kind of limitations users are facing, and because of these problems during the search process, user is engaging or user is investing a lot of cognitive time, cognitive effort of his into the search process, into the search sessions, right? These are the few problems only which we have identified, that due to these limitations at user side, or maybe due to the limitation in the system to support users limitations. So these are the users limitation, and system is not coping these limitations. System is not designed in a way to overcome these limitations, right? And few limitations which are falling in the system side, it is basically uh, the limitation on identification, that what to read or search by a user, right? Similarly, how to estimate how much to visualize. So visualization is one possible direction which is recently explored in different systems, that so if you have retrieved 100 or 200 of records for exit query, then how to visualize all these, how much to visualize, how much to hide. So these kind of decisions are still open, right? How to predict the next search, right? So this is related to that which part of data is important. So how to visualize or how to predict the next search is challenge direction, right? So this capturing this search evolution. So because during this in search, we have observed that user is gaining knowledge, right? User is gaining knowledge. So it is always important to indicate or to estimate that how much user has gained, how much user has been changed his search intention, right? Because our search is of nature exploratory. Now user has started with one point, and he's going to have these different kind of changes at each interaction. So after each search, he will be changing his search direction. So you should be taking care of this changes in search intention also, right? Because eventually you have to help a user as a system, right? So keeping track of change in search intention is important, right? And eventually it is important, or it is the bottleneck for the system performance also, that you have to balance the information exploitation and exploration. So these are the few potential issues which we can address as a researcher of this domain, and these are some potential directions which are open. Now with this, now we are going to have this brief idea about how this internal process, thought process is basically planned in a simple diagram. And here in this diagram, we are trying to explain you that how a search process is happening, right? So you can say this is an inside view of a search process, of a search process, by keeping users' cognitive mind into the picture, right? We are not keeping the different processes of IR system like indexing, pre-processing. Those we are not considering. We are considering these three aspects of a search process. These three aspects are like, there is this rectangle box which is called IR system or IR process. There is this real world, and there is this cognitive space of user, right? This elliptical box is showing the user's cognitive process. And naturally, whenever we are going for a search, it is because of a given task. So any task which is given to you, any assignment which is given to you, is considered as a W, which is a work. So this definition of work, or this definition of assignment, is falling into the real world, because it is related to the real world. Now for a real world task, for assignment, user has its own impression, his own impression, which is designed, which is created, or which is manifested in user's cognitive space. That's why it is called CW. It is a cognitive perception of your work. So any assignment which is given to user, it is again interpreted by the users or individuals by his or her own interpretations, which is referred as CW. So for a word W, the first impression is called CW, right? So CW is first understanding about the work, first understanding about the given task or assignment to you. Now you are going to conduct a search. Naturally, for this cognitive space, CW is one impression. Now this CW is, it cannot be applied to the system because it is a perception. Now your mind is trained enough to identify at least a few terms, few Again, few in transformation, few impressions. These few impressions are referred as the search needs. So search needs is something which we used to refer in the literature, academic literature. Search needs. So search needs is kind of some kind of finite words or finite some sentences on which or maybe by which we will be applying our queries. So this you can see Q. So Q is nothing but it is the manifestation. It is the most abstract representation of your search needs. Like in Google search, you are typing some terms, some keywords. So those Q, so Q are equivalent to keywords which you are typing on the Google search. But this Q or query term is an abstract representation of needs. But this Q is outside of your cognitive space. So that's why we are saying during this pre-search, during this pre-search context, we used to apply remembering. Remembering is the cognitive process which we apply during this manifestation of N. So based on this manifestation of remembering, we can be able to derive N, and these N are mapped into Q. Q are nothing but it is a keyword which we are applying to the system. So once we derive Q, now we can say we have somehow started the search process. So based on this Q, user will be sending you the R. R means results. So this is the one interaction. This is the one whole cycle of one complete cycle of search system, right? So after this what? So we have done with query and result scenario. Now if you see this whole process for exploratory search, so there is this relevance mechanism called. So for a query you are getting some results. So if you are getting results R for a query Q, there is this simple relevance mechanism planned to derive some results, some objects, information objects. And for retrieving these information objects, we have used a simple algorithmic relevance. It may be a TF-IDF based approach. TF-IDF, so any similarity measure you can adapt. So any algorithmic relevance can be planned here, right? So A is representing algorithmic relevance. So for that you can have any mechanism. TF-IDF is something which you are using in the traditional way. Similarly, if you see the second iteration of the same search, just because in the previous discussion we have said, after looking at the results of the first query, user is now having evolved knowledge. He has now evolved CW. He has now different perception for the same W. He is having different perception of CW into CW, and CW is now converted to again new query, and new query will be going as a new Q, and new Q will be giving a new result, right? So this is traditionally happening. So each time whenever we are looking at the results, we will be gaining some perception, and for the same previous work, same assignment, we will have different CWs, different cognitive perception of the work, and for the same evolved different CWs, we will have different needs, different queries, and different results. So this is how traditional systems are working. And for the relevance matching, or for matching the relevant objects O, we will be adapting the algorithmic relevance AR or A. Now if you see there is a dashed line drawn between CW and system noted as a P. So P is pertinent relevance, right? So pertinent relevance, there are this algorithmic relevance, there is pertinent relevance, there is a SR is again a different kind of relevance. So these three relevances are planned for three different search contexts, right? So pertinent relevance is something which exists in basically in the lifetime of the search task. So whenever we are conducting a search, maybe for the 10 different queries, the pertinent relevance will stays there for retrieving the relevant result. So it is like algorithmic relevance, then pertinent relevance, then SR, which is situations relevance, right? So situation relevance is something which is difficult to manipulate, difficult to model into the relevance systems. So we could have different algorithms, different matrices, different parameters to model each and every these relevance mechanisms, right? So that is the main challenge which we are dealing with as a researchers of information retrieval domain, that how to model these three aspects of relevance into the search process. Because as soon as we are effectively able to model these three different relevance models, these three different relevance measures, AR, PR, and SR, we could have one of the best systems in the world, right? So with this, I'm going to introduce you a new framework which we have designed as a part of our research. There, we have conceptualized a framework where we can utilize the user's presence for retrieving the most relevant or maybe most close or proximate results for the user search needs. So this is the one conceptual representation of our work actually. And here you can see, so there are in the left handed side block we have, so this is the first iteration. This is the first iteration representation of a result. So there in the center we have, so this is the conceptual representation. So we have placed all the matching results in the inner area, inner circle, you can say inner circle, all the matching. So basically we have created a system which is a keyword based matching system on the scientific database, a database which is having the scientific documents, right? So we have exploited all the keywords from these documents and designed a keyword based matching system. So all the keywords, all the documents from the keywords which are matching to the user needs are kept in the inner blocks, inner circle, and all other keywords which are not matching, maybe they are related, right? They are kept in the outer block, outer circle here. So you can see in the first iteration, this inner box or inner circle is having lesser area captured, and this inner box we are saying this is the exploitation area. Exploitation means something which is closely matching, closely available to use. So all these are matching, and we can refer these inner results as the exploitation results available for his need, because they're matching, and all other which are important, which are relevant but not matching, are kept in the exploration area, which could be used in the future needs. These are the prospective search needs, right? So the same system, when system evolves by considering the user's engagement, by considering the user interaction with the system in a algorithmic way or in the parametric pertinent relevance based system, if you see the system evolution during the nth iteration, iterations, you can see the enhancement, maybe growth in the exploitation circle, and lot of results are newly added into this circle. So now, just because we have added users interactions, we could realize that there are various results which was falling in the exploration circle now are appearing in the inner portion exploitation circle, because they are now matching of user interest, which initially system considered that they are not matching, but during the interaction, during the intermediate searches, users feedback, user interaction with the system, we realize that these are also matching with the user's interest. So this is what we have conceptualized as a framework. We have designed, as a part of our research work, we have designed three search contexts. So we have designed three different stages for the search and named as retrieve, review, and revise. And for three different phases, we have defined different parameters, relevance parameters for that. And based on that, this whole concept has been implemented. So this is what is the typical view of our design system. So it is analogous to the conceptual framework which we have discussed. So I'm not going to show this, not discuss much about this. Yeah, so it is again it is iterative search intention estimation strategy. So again, it is related to the conceptual framework. This is one of other system which we have designed with our MTech student. It is called AID, which is Automatic Interactive Data Exploration. So it is a simple keyword based approach, but philosophy is to utilize user interaction. So here we have provided these options. So here, by these simple options, user can apply his or her interest on the particular search results, and by engaging different interaction from the user, we could have this possibility of evolving the results. Evolving the results means we could have results with the matching with the user's interest, right? Now, this is something related to evaluation of these two systems. So I'm not going to discuss much upon these two systems. So we have compared our proposed system with various established systems, right? So these are something related to the overall evaluation. So now here you can see something important, which is the balancing the exploitation and exploration trade-off, right? So in this, the left-hand side, the graph is indicating the level of exploitation we achieved in our system, and right side graph is explaining the level of exploration which we have achieved as compared to the other existing systems, right? So to summarize, because we are now getting into the close of the system, close of the session actually. So to summarize with, I can only indicate or highlight one important aspect, that most of the existing systems are designed to take care of the topical dimension of the search. Topical dimension means what? Basically, it is like any search which is similar to the lookup search based approach. It can be referred as a topical. So whatever you type, anything which is matching with your typed query will be retrieved. So that is something related to topical, right? So it is also, there are various systems available for supporting this topical dimension of search. So any existing system which is matching the similarity of typed query with the possible existing data and retrieves these results is based on topical. So this dimension has been broadly explored, and it has been broadly saturated also. So now this term intent, I mean, intent means it is something related to your situation. Like we have correctly outlined that we have three search contexts, three different situations of user in a simple search process, right? Initially, I mean, in the case of topical dimension based search systems, it is not important that a search system or search process having three different stages. But now, as we are considering that each and every situation, each and every context has its own parameters, it has its own cognitive processing involved. So you have to plan different situation, different context in a different way. So one of the possible tentative direction is that you can design your own IR system by considering these three search contexts in the three different stages, three different impressions, and you can plan your own relevance mechanisms. You can plan your own way of capturing user interaction with the system, right? So, so these are the few important points which I would like to share with you, and we have discussed broadly. And this is something; these are the points, something which we will be discussing or highlighting in the different sessions also, right? So now, if you have any query, we could have discussing these queries with us. So we have around 5 minutes again to have these kind of queries, right? So. Yes. So one of the participants says database designing and information retrieval algorithms or schemas both done by the single person or it is by team. Yeah. So basically, ideally, these two different practices are done by the different persons, right? Because whenever we say information retrieval algorithms, so IR algorithms are basically you are having different algorithms for different components. So you can have different algorithm for indexing, you can have different algorithm for for matching, you could have different algorithms for pre-processing, you could have different algorithms to extract or extracting the tokenization, something like that. So for each and every aspect, you can have different algorithms. But for database management or for data corpus management, you could have different algorithms naturally. right? Single person is, I mean, not the appropriate term. So yes, naturally different components will be done, will be managing these different aspects. Okay, so what kind of relevance measures have you used in these systems? Yeah, so we have used in case of pre-search context, we have used the existing algorithms, because it is always suggested to adapt the existing algorithms, because our contribution in our work is primarily focused on the in search and the post search, I mean pro search context. So for the pre-search context, there we are simply retrieving the results which are matching to the user's need in a traditional way. But when we come to the modeling of in search and pro search, we have adapted or designed new measures, right? So that is something we have proposed, and that is what something is contribution is, right? I advise that it is always, because so if you see pre-search context carefully, it is similar or it is analogous to the existing search, right? Because whatever query you are typing, systems should at least initially generate all the results matching with the user query. So the pre-search context is similar to the traditional IR process, traditional retrieval process, and the difference is basically starting from the in-search context. In-search means after looking at the results, how user is behaving, how user is interacting with the results. So you should be taking care of these interactions. So you can have a simple feedback mechanism to the users. So, and you can utilize these mechanisms and try to model these user interactions, user interest on the results, and utilize them into the derivation of the next possible results, right? So by having simple labeling mechanism, by having simple options, you can design a interaction mechanism, right? Okay, so further, if you have any query, kindly post. I'm waiting for the queries. After that, we will close the session. So I request participants, so if you have any query, let me know. Yeah, so main the time I would like to share first. So although most of the instruction has been shared, now what we have done, we have created a YouTube playlist. There we are uploading all the session videos. So all the videos recorded for each and every session will be uploaded in this playlist, and I will be creating a Google Drive also. There we will be keeping each and every resource related to this FDP, right? As far as PPT concerned, when the presentation slides concerned, okay, there is no issue with my slides. I can post my slides and share these slides with you. But all the experts which are from different institutions and different IT organizations, I need to seek their consent before sharing the slides, because any information which is available in their slides cannot be shared in a public domain without their consent. So I will be, at best, I can do one thing. I will ask them for the consent, and eventually at the last day of the FDP, I will be posting all those PPT in that Google Drive folder, right? So I do not have this habit of sharing a slide just after the presentation or just after the day. It is always better to post all these resources available with me to the participant at the end of the FDP, right? Because it is creating a lot of rework actually. So it is, I am maintaining records of each and everything, that is for sure. And I will be sharing each and every resource or each and every possible resource with me to you on that Google Drive folder, or maybe anyway, right? So you should be having this impression that I will be sharing these resources for sure, right? So with this, I'm closing my session. Thank you very much for listening to me, though I will be there for each and every session with you, and you will be looking at my face and each and every next 4 days at least. And right, so tomorrow's sessions, tomorrow we have only 2 experts. First 2 sessions will be engaged by one of the prominent researchers, Dr. Mukesh Mahania. He was He was having, I mean, extensive research experience in IBM, and nowadays he is working with the Triple IT Delhi, and he is focusing upon the very first aspect of the IR process, which is called pre-processing. Right? Pre-processing involves tokenization and all of things, all of the different things, and he will be covering different advancements on that area, because people are having this impression that what is the possible. I mean, this pre-processing stage has